Will the Health Science Program of Study Advisory Committee please come to order?
Thanks and good morning. I think we'd like to go ahead and start with, as usual, welcome to Austin and the beautiful sauna that is our weather. And hopefully, I understand that there's still some storms on the coast that are keeping one or two of our members away, but we hope they're doing well. I want to start out with just a few general housekeeping bits of information we usually do at the beginning of each meeting. First of all, just a reminder that this meeting is being webcast and recorded, so this will be available for viewing at future times. It'll be archived on our YouTube channel. As always, hopefully most of you are used to using the microphone, and that when you're speaking, make sure that you press the button so that the red light comes on, and when you're not speaking, to go ahead and turn it off. We have reminder that we're representing the whole state of Texas and not necessarily your individual institutions or organizations. We always hope that the work that we do here benefits your institution as well as the rest of the state, but we're trying to keep the state in general in mind. We have a Wi-Fi connection called Education Go Get It. There's no password required for that, for using Wi-Fi. So we've already talked about the lunch money. I think you've already turned in your money for lunch. The lunch will be here probably between 11 and 11:30, sometime around there. Just a reminder, the restrooms are midway down the hall. There's a sign on the ceiling showing where they are. And we have a vending machine, which is kind of a kiosk that has different snacks and beverages, and has a machine, kind of a kiosk that you can use a credit card or cash. And I think we just want to start with Anna and just go around introducing yourself again, who you are and where you're from.
Ana Mejia Dichi, Executive Director of the Healthcare Workforce Alliance of Central Texas.
Abe Johnson, Vice President Provost of the Plano campus for Collin College.
Carol Drakowski, Division Chair of Allied Health, Director of Dental Hygiene, Wharton County Junior College.
Candace Beckham, Dean of Academies at University High School, part of Waco Independent School District.
Jan Hooper, Board of Nursing.
Lori Mosley, Hill College.
Helga Carrion, Coordinator of Health Professions and Related Sciences at El Paso Community College.
Wanda Johnston, CTE Department Chair, Memorial High School, San Antonio.
Don Martin, Dean of Allied Health at El Centro College.
Sally Williams, I'm the Workforce Center Director at the Dallas-Fort Worth Hospital Council Foundation.
Donna Moore, Associate Professor at Austin Community College.
Michelle Trubenstein, Dean of Health Professions, Howard College, San Angelo.
Shirley McNeil, Lamar State College, Port Arthur, Allied Health Department Chair, Upper Mobility Program Coordinator.
Kimberly Miller, Plano Senior High School, Health Science Team Lead.
As I mentioned before, you know me, I'm Dwayne Hiller, a Program Director here at the Coordinating Board.
Gary Tomerlin, Deputy Assistant Commissioner here at the Coordinating Board. And as always, we appreciate your time and efforts related to these projects.
Can we have a review of the minutes from the February 13th meeting? Are there any corrections to the minutes from the February 13th meeting?
I recommend that we accept the minutes as is.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to accept the minutes, and it's been seconded.
I'm going to take a vote. So.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All oppose? Minutes from the February 13th meeting have been approved. Is there any public testimony on agenda items? Okay, we're going to move on to the review of the Health Science Program of Study Subcommittee reports. The first one we're going to review is the Rehabilitative Services Subcommittee.
Is that OTR?
OTA and PTA, Program of Studies.
Do we have a person here that was on the OTA, PTA committee?
Yeah, unfortunately, Evangeline De Leon is the one who's out. Anna was on that committee.
I was on the committee, but we've met so long ago
been a
that
while.
I'll be honest that
So-
I'm going to take your lead on the comments that have been received. I assume
okay.
we need
So
to
what
review
you-
those. We made the changes since the last meeting from the review, correct? Because we'd looked at the,
Right, so we have the public comments that have been received, and we also have the committee or subcommittee member responses to those.
Okay, so just for clarity, then, so this isn't, we're not really doing subcommittee reports, we're doing review of public comments and subcommittee
Right, and
responses.
yeah, so basically
Okay,
that is the
okay.
subcommittee report is the comments. And so I guess the question, and as we go through these, the question for this committee is, have the comments been addressed sufficiently? And are you comfortable with recommending this? And as we go through them, we'll go one by one, but are you willing to recommend this program of study as is to the coordinating board for its approval? Or do you feel that the subcommittee would probably need to meet and make some more changes before we can send it for approval? Just kind of a description on the format is that when we sent these comments out to the subcommittee members, we asked them two questions, and we asked them to answer yes if they feel more work is needed, or if changes are needed based on the comments, and to answer no if they feel that the program of study as recommended is to remain unchanged. It's basically the wording we use. We'll go through, I think somehow the instructions kind of got lost in translation, and a lot of people were saying, yes, I think this program should go forward as is. And so, again, we'll try to clarify the instructions next time, but in most cases, if the answer is no, then that means the subcommittee member is saying that the program of study is sufficient or...
Yeah, so basically what we're looking at is we have one yes and 5 no's. Then one committee member said they thought the recommended change would enhance the program of study, but 5 members said no, it would not. Is that correct?
That's right.
I do have what's probably not a very clever question, but in a couple of instances, you had already, in the comments when you sent it, it said question will be referred to the subcommittee. does that mean that despite the vote, it would be referred to the subcommittee, or?
Well, no, it was being referred, it was being referred to the subcommittee along with the comments.
Okay.
So they were given the option to respond to each of the comments, and in a lot of cases, you will have their responses in there. So if their responses are sufficient to keep the program of study as is.
Just procedurally then, does it have to go to the subcommittee to, like, other than as we did electronically, or are we okay if it's gone through the electronic process?
Right, and just reviewing the comments to see if we feel that it doesn't need to go to the subcommittee. Or to say it already has gone to the subcommittee and they've responded to that.
And so then our goal as the advisory committee is to determine whether or not we want to accept the recommendations from the subcommittee based upon the public comments and their reactions to those public comments, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Well, I was on the subcommittee. I didn't work directly with the OT, but I worked with the PT. But after reviewing the comments for the OT, I thought that probably one of the biggest problems was lack of understanding from the college's part that there was still the ability to enhance this curriculum with adding their own courses to them, and some of the specific courses that they were referring to that they felt was part of their curriculum that wasn't part of this were so similar in the WECM course descriptions that it would be easy to transfer to the recommended program of study.
So Dwayne, do the responses go back to the person that made the comment?
Well, we will post them along with when the program study goes to the board, it'll include the.
Looks like there weren't enough negative comments to say there were substantive concerns.
Right.
I also noticed that there's only one or two colleges that had some problems with this proposed curriculum courses, and that the subcommittee and the board looked at the majority of the programs within the state of Texas. So just an observation.
And maybe for clarification to Jan's question, when the proposal, assuming y'all approve it today, excuse me, we tentatively have it in the queue for the September-October board meeting cycle, and we will write a document that explains what the program of study is, and then we'll summarize the comments. And if you just want to, you can go look where our calls, the subcommittee of our board met yesterday, and they looked at 6 or 7, I think it was, fields of study. And we wrote all the comment pages, and we took all the comments, grouped them together, and then summarized them. And so all that information is made available. But I think as y'all are kind of generalizing, the subcommittee itself discussed all the different courses and the comments about, well, this is similar to this and this is similar to this, but this is the one that has the majority of the usage or whatever. And so that kind of stuff will be summarized and made available. But then ultimately the board will make a decision after y'all make your decision on approval with all of that information.
Thank you. On behalf of the subcommittee, Rehabilitative Services Subcommittee, I move that the Occupational Therapy Assistant Program of Study be accepted as submitted by the committee.
And
I second it.
We have a,
Discussion. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion, any further discussion?
we have a motion and a second to approve the Rehabilitative Services Subcommittee Program of Studies. Is there any discussion?
Just for the OTA.
Oh, just for the OTA. If there's no discussion, can we have a vote? Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All oppose? The OTA has been accepted.
Okay, the next recommendation is on the physical therapist assistant program study. I guess one point on this, on the comments for this, we have about 3 comments mentioning that the Texas Alliance of PTA Educators, or TAPTE, would recommend a certain statement be included in the statement of in the program of study. And so in this case, like I said before, a yes vote usually means that it needs to go back to the subcommittee for further work. But in this case, if it's just adding a statement to the program of study, the yes vote basically indicates that the subcommittee member agrees with that comment. And in this case, it's pretty straightforward, add the statement or don't add the statement. And so we pretty much assume if the majority says yes, that we'll just go ahead and add the statement to the description of the program of study. And again, I'm looking at the comments number 2, 3, and 5. And likewise, comment number 1 was that the course title in the program of study was incorrect. And so the correction was to correct the course title. And the vote for yes means that they agree that the course title should be corrected. So that one doesn't have to go to the subcommittee.
On behalf of the Rehabilitative Services Subcommittee, I recommend that the Physical Therapist Assistant Program of Study be adopted as submitted by the subcommittee.
and I make a second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, my question would be this. If we've moved to accept as submitted, are we accepting what was originally submitted, or are we accepting the suggested changes?
Oh, and again, this is the I guess the option or the of this advisory committee, but basically we're recommending that the corrected version of the program of study go to the coordinating board for approval. So the corrections will be incorporated into it.
I amend my motion to incorporate that statement.
And so the motion basically is to accept the recommendation with corrections.
Well, is it corrections or is it the revision of the one course name?
Well, there's a one course name and then there's a statement to be included in the description.
Okay, I think it'd probably be better if the motion reflected something specific like that.
Yeah, so we, we need to be clear so that everybody understands that if we say to accept the program of study as submitted, that can have two different meanings already, right? But if we're going to approve something now that's different from what we had originally forwarded, then we need to say what that difference is. And so now we need to, when we start to do a motion, we need to say, approve the program of study as submitted with the corrections to include the change in the course name, blah, 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 whatever it is here, and the addition of the Texas Alliance PTA educators statement to the program of study.
And
As noted, I accept that friendly
And
amendment.
I guess just to get it into the record, I'll go ahead and read the statement that will be included in the description. The PTA program of study is a guide in sequencing the curriculum in Texas PTA programs. The POS allows for flexibility so that each PTA program can adjust its curriculum to best meet the needs in the area that the program serves. That is the statement that will be included in the description of the program of study.
And then the second change is the change of the name of the course from Best Patient Care Skills, as it was originally listed, to Best Patient Care Skills. Oh, Basic Patient Care Skills. I'm sorry. I have allergies. I'm taking allergy medication, so it's a little foggy today. Okay, change from Best Patient Care Skills to Basic Patient Care Skills is the correction in the course title.
I accept that friendly amendment as well.
Because now we can vote on the motion as amended.
Can we have a vote on the motion that's amended? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? It's approved with the amendment.
EMS, I think is the next one. Yeah.
The next report we will review is the Emergency Medical Services, the EMS Program of Study.
And again, I have Evangeline and Donna Moore as the representatives on that committee. I guess, Donna, you get the honors.
Reading through the comments, it appears that most of them, like we mentioned before, was just a matter of misunderstanding of the way it was laid out and how they could use the hours. And that was clarified when Dwayne responded on the staff comments.
So it looks like the subcommittee's only recommended change is on comment, is that comment 4? From
Yes.
Collin College on page 5?
Yes,
Yeah,
and to
comment
clarify, and this is maybe Janice and Donna might, if you remember, in the original recommendation, there were 2 courses that only had a 3-hour version listed. And the comment was to include the range of 3 to 4 hours to make them available for all courses. That change has been made into the current. And so I guess the question becomes, are you okay with that particular change? And again, this is comment number 4, which is on page 5. And it's the second comment from Collin College.
And that change has already been incorporated into the first page, right?
That's right, yes. So that will be the recommendation to the board.
As a member of the EMS Program of Study Subcommittee, I recommend that we accept the program of study as amended to include the number of WECM course hours, allowable range of hours, and the WECM course numbers, EMSP 2334 and EMSP 2534.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. We'll have a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All oppose? We recommend the Emergency Medical Services Program of Study to the board. Next, we will review the subcommittee report on dental hygiene program of study.
And I have Carol Durkowski and Helga Carrion as members of that subcommittee, so you can, I guess, take turns or decide which one of you wants to.
It is what it is. I mean, it's pretty well here. I think it's been made very inclusive. It scares me. That's my own personal opinion. The committee thinks that this is the way we need to go, so, I mean, I'm outvoted. It scares me. We have 68 hours, and this is almost our entire curriculum right here. So they've been very, very, it's not leaving a lot of room for future changes and things like that. So.
Yeah, and I guess one thing, that you brought up that I probably want to mention about all of these, we are also considering some kind of process of, I guess, maintenance or review of these programs of study. It's once they're approved, it's not etched in stone forever and ever, but we will have opportunities in the future to look at, again, based on evidence of, if colleges can submit comments, saying that it doesn't work because, and certain evidence that they can provide, we can either call the subcommittee together again or somehow review and make changes at some point in the future.
That makes me feel better. Thank you.
Want to make sure that.
And let me add to that, if I can, Dwayne. It's not that we're considering. I mean, there will be a process.
Right.
I want to be very definitive on that. As I think you're probably all aware, we're not currently reviewing WECM courses. We have stopped the constant periodic review process, but we've established a WECM committee that functions kind of like this committee. And so we've moved it from a field-driven process to a board process because of the importance of it. Workforce and having workforce programs and a level of alignment or commonality in the workforce programs. And the last 2 years, we've sent out a correspondence communication to all the vice presidents of instruction and the liaisons. And we've encouraged them to, share it within the institutions. And it's like, if you know of any courses that need to be changed, why do they need to be changed? And what's the driver? And the results we've gotten have been somewhat limited, but we're working with the WECM committee. And we will work with programs and study committees globally to figure out timing and processes and all those kind of things of how to both revise the courses and revise the programs of study periodically. And I don't know what periodically is right now. I mean, that's the unknown, if you will. But in the WECM process as it existed on a calendar cycle, if a licensing body, accrediting agency, whatever, if they came up with standards, and the courses were reviewed last year and then new standards came up this year, the courses weren't reviewed for 3 more years because that was the cycle. We don't want to do that. If new standards come up next year, we need to find a way to change those standards. And I think the last time this group met, or maybe the time before, I don't know, it starts running together. But Brian Stewart was talking about Surge Tech, and that Surge Tech is moving away from a certificate into a degree program and some of that kind of stuff. And I think that's one of the next subcommittees that we're going to be working on. But the conversation is getting in front of those changes as opposed to doing it in the arrears. And so hopefully we'll have a process, we'll have that program of study developed, and then the colleges can implement it, based on workforce need before the new standards happen. And so there will be a process. We're not going to put these on a shelf for now until perpetuity and expect them to last. As part of the programs of study, as we look at some of the WECM courses that are not in the programs of study, if we need to tweak any of those courses in what I call wordsmithing, if it's good wordsmithing, if it helps it from a student point of view, from a business and industry point of view, we need to find a way to do that. If it's just wordsmithing because, kind of like I like this word and that, not that word, not so much. And quite honestly, from our evaluation, because of the maturity of the Wacom courses, because they've gone through 3 or 4 iterative reviews. That's what we were doing a lot of. We were just kind of, changing them a little bit and not really doing substantive change. And so, we need to find a way, when there are substantive drivers, let's find a way to incorporate those things.
Thank you.
Gary, could I ask a question? And this may sound very strange because I'm so geared into nursing. But a few years ago, when nursing associate degree had to go down to 60 credits they were in the 70s or more. And so this is really saying that an associate degree in dental hygiene could be as few as 43 credits. Is that correct? Or I'm reading it wrong?
No, ma'am. Associate degrees are 60 hours. And that's
So just the required?
Yeah, that's the minimum. And I'm not looking at that sheet. I have to try to pull it out of my deal, but I don't think they named the gen ed hours as an example.
They did not.
And so you have 15 hours of gen ed that are a SACS requirement. And then I don't think they really absolutely defined the clinical practicum hours. I think they put ranges in there. And as discussed, there were 5 or 6 or 7 or maybe 8 health science disciplines that were allowed exemptions to the 60 semester credit hours. And is this one at 68? Is that what you
Yes,
said?
we're at 68.
And so they've identified 43, that leaves 25, 15 of which would be gen ed. If, as Carol's nodding her head affirmatively, if I'm understanding the conversation without looking at it. So it's not a 43-hour degree.
Thanks, I understand now. Thanks.
Right. And I guess one point in all of these programs of study, like I said, we have a range of hours, where it's 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 hours per course. This allows colleges flexibility in selecting, like if they select a few of the smaller number credit hour courses, then that gives them room to add additional local courses to their curriculum.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me that the dental hygiene concerns were mostly about whether medical emergencies, the management of medical emergencies, should be included in preclinic or not. And so I think that has been addressed appropriately. So you want to, okay. So I'd like to move forward and recommend approval of the POS for dental hygiene program. And there weren't any suggestions for changes, so I don't think, right? So, as is.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, we will take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All oppose? The Health Science POS Advisory Committee recommends the dental hygiene program of study to the board. The next program of study for review is the Radiologic Technology Subcommittee program of study.
And in this case, I have you, Rhonda, and Don as serving on that subcommittee.
Yeah, I sort of remember showing up for this. It was a long time ago. I only see one comment, and the response from the subcommittee was overwhelmingly that the suggestion would not improve the program of study. It looks like the Radiologic Sciences Subcommittee was probably the most active of all of them, with 9 members responding to the comments, so it's been well reviewed. As a co-chair, I can't make the motion, so somebody else is going to have to do that.
I make a motion to accept the Radiologic Technology Program of Study as submitted.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. We'll have a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The Health Science Program of Study Advisory Committee recommends the Radiologic Technology Program of Study to the board.
Okay, and I think I saved the hardest one for last. But again, that was just chronologically.
Okay, we will review the respiratory care report.
Okay, this one was mine, and there's been a lot of talk in the last few days, and basically more than a third of the committee thinks that that committee needs to come back together and do some more revision. There's at least 2 of the courses out there that there's question on, and some wording. I think some of the colleges thought we were saying this is the end all, and we were just doing the first year. But I tend to agree with my committee members that it's probably best that that subcommittee comes back together for one more time.
So I guess that's to say this isn't ready for approval yet. So we will convene the subcommittee again and then bring it to the future advisory committee meeting. I think we are off to a good start on this, though.
Yeah.
So do we need to recommend then that the subcommittee be recalled?
Yes.
I make a recommendation that the subcommittee for the Respiratory Therapy Program of Study reconvene and have further discussion.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? So we are recommending that the Respiratory Therapy Program of Study goes back to the subcommittee. We have subcommittees already proposed. Do we just need to review them? Is that?
I guess what I want to do, as we left the last meeting, we kind of took volunteers to serve on those subcommittees. I'm wondering, though, before we go into that, if you want to maybe take a 10 or 15-minute break for just a heavy sigh of we've accomplished a lot so far, so.
We will recess for about 15 minutes. Come back at 11 o'clock.
Yes.
last meeting in February?
Yes, and I'll be giving an update on that. Okay, just I guess looking back in the minutes, page 5. So we have a okay. 5 new subcommittees that we formed at the last meeting: Health Information Management with Abe Johnson as chair, or one of the chairs; Medical Assisting with Wanda Johnson as chair; Substance Abuse with Shirley McNeil; Diagnostic Medical Sonography and Echocardiography with Brian Stewart; and then Surgical Technology with Don Martin. After the last meeting, I sent out a notice to to the whole subcommittee, or to the whole advisory committee, asking people who weren't at the meeting which subcommittees they would like to serve on. And again, quite a few. There were quite a few takers for the surgical technology program, but
Dwayne, did we send a nomination request to the field as a whole?
oh yeah, we have nominations for those subcommittees also. We're still collecting. I guess what I want to point out is we've gotten several nominations from post-secondary, and actually in Surge Tech, we have 1 or 2 from business and industry or professional organizations, but we haven't had any nominees from secondary education. So that's kind of the thing that we're working on getting.
Typically, I don't think secondary teaches surgical.
Right, and what we try to clarify when we send out those nomination forms is that we're only looking for students who are in the health science cluster. So any student who's taking any health science courses, like, would be eligible, I guess. Teachers, sorry. So it doesn't have to be specifically to that discipline, but just anyone who's in the health sciences.
But that requirement goes to the original charge of the program of study, the Health Sciences Program of Study Advisory Committee, and that it was to be made up of representatives from secondary, post-secondary, and business and industry. And so the subcommittee has to reflect that same makeup. Isn't that correct?
Yes, as much as possible, and where is appropriate. And when we constituted this committee, and we've talked about this before, we tried to do, and I think we did do 50% community college, and then use the other 50% divided amongst the various business, industry, secondary, and licensing bodies and other experts such as Jan and the Board of Nursing. So we tried to bring in those other voices, but then we wanted we wanted the community colleges, because that's where the curriculum resides, to have major influence, if you will. But the other voices need to provide guidance and that kind of stuff. But when we look at it, Surge Tech as an example, we could still look at secondary faculty for discussion of dual credit opportunities and pathways and that kind of stuff. But the committee will be heavily to the community college side, and because there's got to be the balance. There's got to be the conversation about what needs to be in the curriculum, what do you need to learn, what's the starting point, what's the end point, but ultimately the community colleges don't have to teach the program, even from a dual credit point of view.
So Dwayne, on these subcommittees that are listed here, is there a second member for each of these committees from this group?
And actually, that's what I was just now reviewing. I was looking at the responses from that notice. And just kind of playing around with the numbers and the opportunities. I think, Anna, you included surgical tech as one of your preferences. Would you serve on that committee? Okay, and Helga, you had substance abuse. Is that okay? Or Evangeline, she's not here, but she had requested medical assisting. Carol, would you do health information? And I can't remember, is Suan Lopez here? I'm sorry, I didn't get a good look at your names. Okay. And that leaves, we actually, nobody volunteered for diagnostic medical sonography. Is anybody, from what I understood, and that's Brian Stewart is on, or offered to lead that committee. But from what I understood from our discussion last time, is that their licensing or accreditation body had proposed or recommended a curriculum, or their group or something.
It's actually the faculty from programs
okay.
across the state have been discussing this by phone conference. They've been discussing it for some time. They think they have a plan, so they think they're ready.
Okay, I'll have you down on. Again, is that Shirley? Okay. So you'll be doing substance abuse, and then you'll be second on the sonography. For which one? Okay. Okay, so I've got Lori for sonography, Carol for health information, Evangeline for medical assisting, Helga for substance abuse, and Anna for search tech. Okay. And I guess like I mentioned, so far we've got 8 nominees for substance abuse. And again, these are all post-secondary. So we're still looking for the business and industry or professional organizations. 12 for sonography, all post-secondary. 12 for health information, 9 for medical assisting, and 14 for surgical technology. Now, surgical technology does have 1 or 2 business and industry representatives. So, again, for that one, we're just looking for somebody from the secondary sector.
And we just need one person or more?
I believe, a minimum of 1 would be sufficient.
We've set out a call to all the dual credit teachers at a secondary for volunteers at El Centro, and haven't had any response at all, so it's going to be difficult for you.
Right, and yeah, if you have any contacts, I believe I sent out the forms to this advisory committee along with all the subcommittees. If you need a copy of that form, and just let me know. And don't worry too much about the deadline. That was really trying to get the report finished so before the meeting, but we're really just anytime. We don't want to put a limit, deadline on when you can recommend somebody.
Can you say again which ones you needed business, industry for?
Well, we need all of them.
All of them except
Surge Tech, surgical technology.
Okay.
We have 1 or 2 already. I mean, if you know of somebody, we can always use more, but we have the minimum for that one.
So until we have a committee with representation from the different groups, we won't be convening? Is that, or?
I believe, according to our rules, I believe that's correct.
No, we'll need to look at membership, and we'll need to figure out how to recast the net, but
Okay.
we need to, we'll try to get together. Well, it's Thursday, so it probably won't happen this week, quite honestly. But we'll try to get together internally here this next week. We'll look at, do we need to push the nomination back out to the field again? How do we need to proceed from a membership point of view? And we don't necessarily have to have 24 people on the subcommittees to come together. And, quite honestly, Don, a question, you talk about the sonographers that have been working remotely offline. How big is that effort? Can you maybe inform me and inform the committee? And I guess my question is, if they already have a level of consensus, and are we going to bring a subcommittee to town to just kind of talk for 15 minutes and say this is what we've agreed on? I question the efficiency of that, but I will anyway inform the group, and then maybe we'll have a little bit of conversation.
Yeah, and the sonographers, there are a couple of them that are very very actively engaged in the sonography community. And when we started talking about this, my sonography coordinator reached out to the rest of the coordinators across the state, rest of the programs across the state, to start this discussion about developing a program of study on their own, so that they would have more control of the process and they would have more leisure time to actually do it the way they want to do it. And my understanding from her is that the majority of the programs across the state have been involved. I think the advantage of bringing them in, though, would be to make sure that everybody has a full understanding of what the process is through like an official version from THECB. And what you might do instead of bringing them in, is you might do a teleconference with them, where you could discuss with the group and make sure that they have a full understanding of what it is you're looking for. And if they are on that page, then you can make a decision about whether to bring them in or not. So,
well, and at a minimum, there would still have to be some kind of a proposal to this group that somehow or another they express consensus, but it might just be just as easy to a subcommittee. Dwayne, how many did you say you had on sonography? 12? Don, maybe if you could, since your person, your program director is running point on that herd, if you will, maybe if you can get them to push back out and to the field and ask some of the others to nominate, we can get that group. If all the programs in the state are participating in the conversation, if we could get a few more, I think we can get them here fairly quickly and have a conversation with them.
Yeah, I can do that. And what I can do is I can get a list from her of everybody that has been involved, so that we do know exactly what we're looking at, what kind of level of engagement we have, and I can send that to you.
And so maybe if I, Dwayne, remind me at the last meeting, I know we talked about these 4 or 5. Well, what are we working on? 5 more right now? Is that right, or 4 more? 5 more. And so it's not like we've got these more or less about halfway. So we need to push back and try to get more participants. But if we could try to get more participants and perhaps convene these groups in August, or if not August, September, are there other health sciences that we need to be looking at? Because I mean, I want to try to get our work going, and so if we have these nominations half done, and we could meet in second half of August, first half of September, could we be soliciting nominations for other groups starting July and try to get those by September and meet in October or something like that? I mean, that's kind of carry us into fall, and then of course we can get into this a little bit about when's the next meeting, and so I guess kind of 2 questions, if you will, or hypothetically, what if we could get the other groups, if there are other groups, because I don't know, but if there are other groups, if we could get them to meet in September and October, and then get this group to come back together late fall or so, it seemed like a timeline that we could make work. You know, not trying to jump ahead on the agenda, but are there other subcommittees that need to be named beyond the 5 that we're working on now?
We had already put down the next 5.
Oh.
4.
Yeah, we have the next 4.
The next 4 already listed. We just don't have the people for them.
Right, so we had registered nursing, licensed vocational nursing, veterinary technology, and pharmacy technology as the next 4 subcommittees
Okay.
to call.
Have we done nominations for those?
No, we were still
Okay.
trying to cook the first 5 before we can.
Okay. Well, then it sounds like we need to come back together internally next week and try to do nominations and try to get that pushed out as widely as we can. And so whenever, hopefully by the end of next week, we can get something back out to all of the colleges. And when we send to the colleges, we also copy, like, for example, the Texas Workforce Commission. We have our contacts over there and our contacts at TEA. We try to push these things all across the state of Texas. And of course, we encourage y'all to share them as well, so we can try to get people in to have these conversations.
And as I recall, one of the things we discussed in the last meeting was that the way we would set the committees is we would start at the top with the numbers, go by numbers of students in the programs, et cetera, and just go down that list in that order. And so these are the next 4 highest, 4 largest groups, I guess. And so if we continue that pattern, we don't really have to at this time identify what we want to go to next because it's already there, right? But what we do need here is we need to at least have 1 chair for each of these programs, I think, in order to put them into the next phase to begin to select nominations.
I nominate Jan for registered nursing.
There, we got one.
Getting a subcommittee together.
No, you won't. You'll be overloaded.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to be on that one also, but I could also be on the licensed
LVN.
vocational nursing, either one. I want on the registered nursing though.
And you know, just information for information's sake, I think many of you probably know we have already done the field of study for nursing, but that's really more of transferring from a community college into a BSN program. And so this would be the ADN program is what this would look like for the program of study.
That base and the 8 and all that, they probably already
But now, that was brought up before because there's several schools that are doing concept-based, but there's several that are not.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be.
So, and there was mention about possibly having 2 programs of study, one with concept-based and one with traditional, so.
That makes sense.
So we have co-chairs for the registered nursing, the ADN, so we still need for LVN, vet tech, and pharmacy tech.
I'd like to be on the LVN.
I'll be on both those subcommittees.
I'd like to be on the pharmacy tech committee, not necessarily leading it, but.
I'd like to be part of the pharmacy tech as well.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind sub-chairing the licensed vocational nursing.
Nobody wants to take care of the animals?
Exactly.
Anything but the program, yeah.
I can do veterinary technology if nobody else will do it.
I'll sub with you. I'll co-chair with you, but.
And just a reminder, not necessarily that you be an expert in that field, but just that you be good at running meetings or herding cats, whatever it takes to.
And Dwayne, I have a clarification question, I guess. So, moving back up to the 5 we're currently working on, do you have secondary representation on everything except for surgical, or?
No, we don't have any.
You don't have any, okay.
Secondary.
Okay.
So you'd be
I
welcome
can,
to.
yeah, I'd be willing to serve on one of them. I'm not sure about all 5, but
Okay.
as a secondary, let's see.
I thought you just did that.
We did that.
I think.
Well, for this,
Well, no, I was
for
gonna say,
secondary,
if you
from
wanted, if
high
you
school.
Can she?
Can I? I don't know. I'm just offering to help, since we don't have any secondary representation.
Yeah, from an operational point of view, it's not a problem. You know, the rules are pretty much that you have to have somebody from the committee to chair the subcommittee, and you can have members from the committee to be on the subcommittee larger than that, and so that's fine.
And I guess I was going to suggest that at the moment we have business and industry representatives for the surgical tech. So if you served on that, that would round out that committee.
Okay, I'll do that.
With what number of people?
Okay, sorry. So we currently have 14.
That would be 15, or is that inclusive of 14?
This would be 15.
Okay.
Plus the 2 advisory committee, or plus the 2 chairs.
Okay, so
So-
17 would be our number in attendance?
Right.
Okay. So we have 7 more slots, but when we push, you know, and oops, as I push the microphone, we will try to, you know, maybe get a few more surge tech. I mean, the more voices we can bring to the table, it you know, takes the same amount of time, more or less, to do the meeting with 24 people as it does 17. We want this to be as inclusive of a process as we can. So if you know any more surge tech people from your colleges or whatever, encourage them to nominate. And if anybody's listening, tell them to participate. And of course, the other 4, we need more people globally. But and I'll try to share that with Brian Stewart as well, or get Dwayne too.
Dwayne, I'd also like to be added to the RN committee, subcommittee.
I guess just to make sure I have my notes complete, and might have got them wrong, but So for ADN, I have Jan, Lori, and Anna. For LVN, I have Shirley and Michelle.
Jan?
And Jen. For Vet Tech, I have Don and Helga. And then for Farm Tech, I have Helga and Wanda.
Oh, no.
Candace was for
Yeah.
vet tech.
No, Candace would be on the subcommittee, she won't be the chair.
Well,
Is that correct?
She was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
tech, not me.
Not me.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead.
I think Candace was volunteering to be the representative, the secondary representative for surgical technology.
Right, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But also vet.
so it's Don and Candace on Vet Tech. And Helga and Wanda
Farm.
on Farm Tech.
That's not to say I didn't want Helga. I'm just,
Okay, so we'll again get those nominations out and then let keep you updated. Okay, I guess if there are any other questions or comments about the future subcommittees. Now, we do have one more item to come up, and that has to do with the term expirations. And I think in our rule, we allow you to renew for another 3-year term, if so desired. We have, however, I think the chair is limited to 2 years. I mean, you can continue on in the committee, but we would need to select a new chair and co-chair. So I guess I would just go down and ask, so Don, would you like to stay on the committee?
yes, I would, but I think a clarification on the chair. I thought we did a 2-year and a 3-year chair, and they were rotating like that.
Yeah, that's
So I was the 2-year, I'm pretty sure. And I believe Wanda was the 3.
So Wanda, you're the 3-year?
Yes.
So you have at least
I'm
another year. So we need to elect one more co-chair, but we can do that at the next meeting,
And
unless you want to do it now.
Well, and when did we first appoint these members?
Well, and as I understand, the terms expire in August 31st. So.
Well.
They were, I think it was February 16. We first convened.
Okay, we will look internally, and we need to look at the rules, and we need to look at what the board approved when we started the committee, and when the board appointed you to the committee, the board has to reappoint you to the committee, and so we'll look at all that. Dwayne, make a note that we will need to take this to the September, October cause and board meeting to make sure we have membership and the chair. So there's kind of the deal about chair and co-chair is kind of a staffing level kind of the thing. The board doesn't appoint those, but your membership is appointed by the board. And so Dwayne may have to just get with you and see, do you want to be appointed for another term? And we can do that. The board can do that, but we'll have to write up the documentation, your willingness to serve, and then go forward with that. But we take that to the board in September, October, and then reconvene later in the fall, as we discussed, or I discussed earlier, and still keep the work going. And then we can name, if Don has been chair for 2 years and Wanda is now going to take over the role of chair and that kind of stuff, we can just elect a new co-chair at the next meeting. And Don, you can still serve as well, depending on term and reappointment and all that stuff.
Yeah, I plan to stay. I just don't want to do the chair anymore.
Okay, so I guess continuing on the list, and again, this is kind of informal, but Shirley also expires. Are you wanting? Okay. And Donna, yes. Lori, yes. And Michelle, yes. Okay. Okay, so we have about 5 or 6 who have either haven't been at the meetings or have resigned or retired. So we will be, I guess, sending out nominations to fill those vacancies. But otherwise, everyone else, at your pleasure, you can continue to serve on the committee. Okay, that's all I really had for the agenda. I don't know if you want to set the next meeting date or you want to wait to see when we have a respiratory care subcommittee will be meeting and then proposing their program of study. And then we'll be trying to get those other 5 subcommittees started to meet. Do you prefer to just wait until we have something to present?
Well, and I'm not sure there's any point in meeting until after the September or October board meeting. Would there be, as far as this group goes? Would there be any point in us coming back before that?
Oh, right.
I don't see any reason for that.
I don't think so, Don. From an operational point of view, we don't have time to get nominations, have the groups meet, reconvene this group, and have any kind of documents ready to go to that meeting. I mean, this stuff from today will go to that meeting, but all the other stuff, there's not time to get it in the queue. It's our queue. I mean, we're already working on the September, October board stuff and have been working on it for a while. It's the way that the process works. Bureaucracy is slow for a reason, but any meetings that we could have towards the end of summer and into early fall would be queued up for a December, January board meeting. And so, yeah, to answer your question, trying to get a meeting before early September, late August, the answer is probably no.
Guess I'll move to adjourn, if we've completed the items on the agenda.
Yes, that is the option.
So moved.
And I want to say thank you to Dwayne, especially for all this work. I'm working at a board. I know how much it is to have to put all this together, so thank you.
Sure.
And while we're at it, thank you to Amy, too. I don't see her here. Oh, there she is. Because she works hard at this, I know. She had to remind me that I forgot to say I was coming.
Actually, she keeps me on my toes. So.
And we might as well say thank you to Gary because he's here, so.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
Have a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. We can have lunch.